You know, they say the past is never really past. And today, we're going to dive into a story that proves it, where a brand new road project literally slices through a forgotten piece of history and forces an entire town to face a truth it desperately tried to bury. We find ourselves in Yoknepadawaffa County, a place where even so-called progress can't seem to escape the long shadow of history. There's this incredible line in the source material that says the new road, it actually started to look older than the one it was replacing. It's this idea that when you disturb certain things, they don't just heal over. Nope, they just reveal much, much older wounds.
So let's get into it. A road through memory. Right off the bat, the central conflict is crystal clear. You've got this collision between the modern world, a new state highway, and a piece of the past that just refuses to stay 6 feet under.
So who shows up to kick things off? The State Highway Department. They come in with their fancy instruments, their clipboards, their clean, efficient plans. And their goal is simple, right? Just impose a nice, straight line, State Road VR12, on a landscape that is, well, anything but simple.
And this is really where the two worlds collide. On paper, on the official maps, it's just State Road VAR12. Progress, efficiency. But the reality on the ground? It's Parcel 19B, which the county records just dismiss as unimproved land with some stones of no consequence. Of course, those stones, well, that's the whole story, isn't it? They're headstones in a forgotten cemetery. Okay, so who are our main players caught up in all this? First, you've got Rafe Hightower. He's the 73-year-old county abstractor, the guy who knows where all the bodies are buried, literally, on paper. Then there's Addie Stribling, an English teacher whose family, the McCarrons, are deeply woven into the county's secret history. And finally, there's Evan Caldwell. He's the young surveyor, the outsider, who quickly starts to figure out that the straight lines on his maps don't even begin to cover the crooked lines of history here.
Next up, the jar in the roots. And this is the moment where the whole thing just ignites. A casual visit to this old graveyard unearths a secret that was very, very deliberately hidden away.
So you have to ask yourself, right, what on earth could be so important that someone would go to the trouble of burying it in a mason jar, in a graveyard, in the roots of a tree? Well, that's exactly what Addie Stribling finds. A secret preserved against time, just waiting for the right person, or maybe the right bulldozer, to bring it into the light.
And the symbolism here is just perfect. I mean, we all know what a mason jar is for, right? You use it to keep food from spoiling. But in this story, it was used to preserve a truth that the entire county was more than happy to just let rot and be forgotten forever.
So picture this. Rafe and Addie, they meet in secret to open this time capsule. They pry it open, and inside there are papers carefully wrapped in oilcloth. And the main document, it's a statement from 1909. It's a first-hand account of the lynching of a man named Isaiah. And then comes the bombshell. The anonymous writer reveals they are connected to the McCarron family, Addie's own family.
And this is the message they find scrawled at the end. It's the moral core of the whole thing. The writer wasn't just confessing a crime, they were issuing a command, a warning across 50 years of silence. It's a direct challenge to the very idea of that new road, saying, don't you dare pave over this lie and have the nerve to call it progress.
And the motive, well, it becomes painfully clear. This wasn't some random act of violence. Isaiah was killed because he was literate, and because he had a paper claim to a piece of land that he had been promised. He was a threat to the established power structure in the county, and in that time and place, his knowledge was a death sentence.
Okay, so as you can probably guess, a secret this explosive doesn't stay quiet for long. The second this truth comes out of the ground, it splits the community right down the middle, along these old, deep fault lines of power, family, and fear.
So pretty quickly, the whole town basically breaks into 3 camps. First, you have the revealers. That's Addie and Rafe. Their goal is simple: make this truth heard. Then you have the managers, people like the sheriff, whose main job is to just contain the fallout. And finally, you get the suppressors, the county leadership and powerful families like the McCarrons, who want nothing more than to bury this secret all over again.
Now, the managers are actually pretty interesting characters. Sheriff Tolliver isn't some cartoon villain. He genuinely sees his job as preventing chaos. He wants to, in his words, keep the lid on a boiling pot, even if that means shoving a difficult truth back down. Same with Reverend Toll. He agrees to hide the jar, not because he's evil, but because he's terrified this 50-year-old's crime will just become a spectacle, entertainment that'll tear his town apart.
And then there's Hank McCarron.
He's not trying to manage anything. As the powerful guy whose family name is all over that document, his goal is pure, aggressive suppression. He is the force that is actively trying to shut this whole thing down and rebury the story for good.
So this all leads us to the real heart of the matter, the central dilemma of this story, the weight of truth. What is the actual cost of digging up a history that a community has worked so hard to forget? And who ends up paying that price?
So what's the official response from the county leadership? Well, they don't exactly hold a town hall. They disappear behind the closed doors of an executive session. And it's in there, in secret, that the official plan to make this crisis go away is cooked up.
And here it is, their neat little 4-step plan for damage control. Step 1, pause the road work for a bit, to look responsible. Step 2, authorize a very sensitive and quiet relocation of the graves. Step 3, make sure there's minimal publicity. And Step 4, the real kicker, treat the document itself not as evidence, but as an unverified rumor. See, they're not dealing with the truth, they're managing the perception of it.
So you've got these two totally opposing strategies. The county makes its official choice, bury the story again, to protect what they call peace, but what's really just powerful reputations. But Addie and Rafe, they make a different choice. They know that document is a target now, so they make copies and hide the original. They're trying to make sure this story can't be so easily destroyed a second time.
And the pressure campaign, it's not just about papers, it's about people. Remember Evan, the young surveyor, the key outside witness? The contractor's lawyer quietly approaches him and offers him a transfer to a different site, a chance to be insulated from the local politics. It's a threat, but a very quiet, professional one. It's how you get rid of a witness without looking like you're intimidating them.
Sheriff Tolliver just hits the nail on the head with this one. He completely understands what the Board of Supervisors is really doing. They're not protecting the community, they're protecting an image. As he puts it, the county's reputation isn't the county, it's just the picture the county wants to hang over the smell. Wow.
And in the end, that's the question we're left with, isn't it? It's not just about the past, it's about right now. When a community buries its history, and that history gets dug up, who really pays the price? Is it the descendants of the victim, the descendants of the perpetrators, or is it the entire community, which now has to reckon with the fact that its foundations are built on top of a lie? It's a heavy question with no easy answer.